Hello all. Well, on to the penultimate episode of the Orville, Season 3, Episode 9, Domino. Another incredible episode with some balls-to-the-wall action and quite a heavy emotional payoff. It's a relatively straightforward story, but as usual, it plays with moral ideas. It starts on the Krill homeworld, and Talea is being visited by a Moklan delegation because the Moklans want to propose an alliance. It's not the most conducive of meetings, with the Moklans' prejudice and the Krill's xenophobia, but they kind of come to a mutual agreement. In the meeting, they advise that the Kaylon are starting to amass fleets and have started to position themselves for a new advance. Quick scene change, and there's a fleet of Union ships above a planet just as a Kaylon fleet arrive. There's a new weapon that they're going to try out, which has been created by Charlie and Isaac, and the hope is that it will neutralise the Kaylon threat. The battle starts, the weapon's activated with absolutely devastating results when all of the Kaylon ships are destroyed. There follows a meeting with 3 admirals where they discuss the use of the weapon, whether it's possible to increase its application, how it was created, and it was created by Charlie and Isaac, and they tied into the network that connects the Kaylon following their studies of Timis. It's like a domino effect. Admiral Perry seems quite keen on using the weapon to just wipe out the threat before it even starts, although Mercer, and Kelly too, question the morality of using a weapon that powerful, basically committing genocide. It's put to the Council, and the Council agree that the Orville will go to Kaylon space, using the weapon as a deterrent and try and sue for peace. There's a little bit in the mess hall with Malloy, Tyler, Lamar and Charlie. And Charlie's position, despite what's happened with Timis and Isaac, is pretty much unchanged, and she just wants to kill them all. So the Orville fly into Kaylon space and are met by a number of Kaylon ships who open fire. The weapon's initiated, destroying the ships. The Orville continues forward, more Kaylon ships attack, which again are destroyed. They're hailed and allowed to fly down to Kaylon. They dock and meet with Kaylon Primary to propose the ceasefire. Halsey is pretty steadfast, basically saying, we could kill you if we want to. We chose not to. Kaylon Primary is a little confused by this, to put it in human terms, because to him that's not logical. You have a weapon that can destroy us, why wouldn't you use it? He then says they will find a weakness. Charlie begs them to try, because any tampering with the weapon will immediately trigger it. And so a uneasy peace is agreed. The next scene is Kelly's cabin on Earth. Malloy is singing again, but this time Charlie's singing with him, and it's a celebration of peace. There's a short scene with Charlie and Mercer, where she still says we should be killing them all. What if they find a way to stop the weapon? It's a mistake. And Mercer points out the moral implications of that action. Flick back to Union HQ, and the weapon is stolen and taken to the Krill-Moklan alliance by Admiral Perry. He knows that they are more than willing to use the weapon if they can figure it out. Then he gets killed for his troubles. The Union discover what's happened, who did it, and about the Krill-Moklan alliance. They're aware that only Isaac and Charlie know how to use the weapon, and Bortus says there is a scientist who may be able to do it, and he knows where he's based. They go and check out the base. It's clearly in use, and there's a massive armada of Krill and Moklan ships, so they know they need to get help. Crazily, they go and ask the Kaylon for help, but given it's a weapon that will destroy them, it's in their best interest, and they agree. The armadas are formed and Kaylon Primary boards the Orville, and a battle plan is discussed, which involves the armadas engaging in conflict whilst they ground force, fly in and use an emergency tunnel to access the base. Bit of a MacGuffin, but I'll forgive it. Primary says he'll go as well because Isaac can't be trusted, and Charlie says, we trust Isaac, we don't trust you. So more hostility from Charlie there. The Union fleet engages the Krill and Moklans, and you've got an epic space battle now. The Kaylon join, and the shuttle with the ground mission leaves. And people in this group are Kelly, Tala, Charlie, Isaac, and Primary. The Pterodons are used to cover and protect the shuttle as it goes down, and the shuttle's cloaked, and then you get a dogfight over the planet, which again is quite spectacular. The shuttle is damaged, they have to bail out and use jetpacks to make their way to the surface, while the dogfight continues overhead. They get entry into the emergency tunnel, basically Tyler just pulls the doors open, and they make their way through, tracking the power source, which is a massive quantum core. They're intercepted and there's a running battle. Charlie, Isaac and Primary go in a different direction, which was going to take them longer, while Tala and Kelly hold off the Mocklans and the Krill. Quick scene of Talea in the control room, and the scientist says that the core is almost initiated. There'll be 8 minutes once it starts, and the weapon will fire. A guard comes in and advises of the incursion, and she orders the weapon to be initiated immediately. Kelly and Tala decide to split up, at which point Kelly gets ambushed by Talea, and there's a brutal, serious fight. Talea gets the upper hand, and Tala comes in at the last minute to save Kelly. Meanwhile, the Pterodons are trying to damage the transmitter, but they're having very, very little luck because it's so well protected, and there's more dogfighting. Charlie, Isaac and Primary burst into the control room, and it turns out they can't disarm the weapon. It's initiated, it can't be stopped. So Charlie and Isaac have to start trying to shut down the core, which is going to be near impossible because there are so many system fail-safes, which they both discover pretty quickly. So Charlie comes up with another idea, at which point the scientists try and leave and Primary kills them all. Then shortly after, the commander pulls his gun and Isaac saves Charlie. Primary asks Isaac why he didn't kill the commander, and Isaac says because it wasn't necessary. And you get a moment that infers reflection on behalf of the Primary. Kelly and Tala bring in Talea, and Charlie explains that she's going to have to trigger an overload and tells them to go, because it's going to destroy a large section of the planet as it goes. They try and tell her to come, set a timer. She refuses, says, I've got to follow orders, I've got to do this. So the group leave, but Kalon Primary stops in the doorway and looks back, just for a second. Another moment of reflection where Kalon Primary can't compute Charlie's actions, and it gives him pause. Kelly's group get to a shuttle, signal the fleet to retreat damn fast, as Charlie is working feverishly and the timer is ticking down. The last second, you just get a close-up of Charlie's eyes, and she says, I'm here, Amanda, and the base explodes. And this is a really quite emotional scene, because even though Charlie, I've never really felt like she was properly developed. She seemed to really be there almost as a plot device, which obviously this is the payoff of the plot device. It's still so well written that you get an emotional weight to it. I must admit I shed a bit of a tear. The ground forces make it back to the Orville and communicate with them that Charlie didn't make it. Once back on board, Talea goes for some medical treatment and Primary comes to the bridge. Mercer asks him if this is it or if there's going to be another fight, and Primary asks why Charlie sacrificed herself. Kelly replies, to save you. But this doesn't make sense to him. There's no logic or reason in it. At which point Isaac explains that not all biological life is like their builders, as he's been trying to tell them. Primary admits they may have been wrong, and Kelly says, a woman who hated you just died to save you, you're damn right you were wrong. And again, there's a moment of the evolution of the Kalon, which has been happening all the way through this series and the end of the last series. Mercer and Talea have a conversation. Mercer's talking about their daughter Anaya, and Talea tries to use her as a bargaining chip. Mercer's disgusted by that, just tells her she's going back to Union headquarters. And there's a nice little moment of reflection from Talea when you can see the regret and sadness, because although she spouts the rhetoric of the holy cause, of the purity of the race, etc., you get a sense she doesn't totally believe it when it comes to her daughter. There's a nice scene now between the Kalon and the Union representatives, including the president, where they're discussing provisional membership for the Kalon. And there's a conversation about democracy, about how it may not be perfect, it may not be efficient, but throughout history and on millions of planets, it's the only system that works, or at least works well enough. The final scene is Charlie's funeral. Mercer makes a speech, asks if anyone else wants to speak, and Isaac steps up. And again, this is quite an emotional scene where Isaac describes Charlie in his own way. And earlier in the episode, the method of killing the Kalons by using their network was compared to knocking dominoes down. And in his speech, Isaac says that Charlie herself has impacted the universe and will be remembered forever. She will be the first domino that will bring people together. So a really fantastic episode. As I say, balls to the wall action, especially the second half. Some real emotional payoffs. Charlie wasn't that well developed, but it still had an impact with her sacrifice. And you have the evolution of the Kalons, of them moving beyond, going from being enemies who wanted to wipe them out to being allies. And you can see that their evolution is only just starting and it's just going to progress. And you also have the moral question. If you've got a weapon to wipe out your enemy, and your enemy is sworn to wipe you out, is there a moral imperative to not use it or to use it? And that's kind of one of the core arguments within this. The Kaelon are sworn to kill all biologicals. It's not just a union, it's all biologicals. So a preemptive strike, is that the right thing to do? But at what cost? Commit genocide for the sake of peace? Isn't that what the Kaelon did in the first place with their builders? A great evil to stop an even greater evil? An age-old question, that one. And obviously then it also builds into Charlie's own personal opinions, going from kill them all to taking an action to save them. Whether that was a moral decision, you can't really tell. Personally, when I was first watching it, I was thinking she was just going to trigger it. I thought that's the direction they were going to go, but no. She sacrifices herself for the people who killed the woman who meant the most to her. Does she see them as something more now? Is she just following orders? I guess we'll never know. And that's what makes this such great writing. Just a fabulous episode. This kind of episode is where you can see the special effects budget goes. Massive space battle, incredible visuals. A thoroughly enjoyable episode. And as usual, I'll stop it there because I could go on and just do a quick plug for my comic, which is available from my website. And the link is in the description below. Please like and subscribe if you enjoyed the content and let me know your thoughts. Thank you very much for listening and peace out.